There's something unsettling about Resident Evil 9 Requiem. It's not the monsters, it's not the gunfire. It's the feeling that no matter who you're playing, you're never really in control. Grace feels fragile. Leon feels powerful. But neither of them ever make you feel safe. And that might just be the point. You know that moment in a horror game where you open a door and you just stand there for a second? Not because something jumped out, but because you're not sure you're ready for whatever's next? That's how Resident Evil 9 starts. You're playing as Grace, you've barely got any ammo, the lighting is awful, in a good way, and everything feels tense in that quiet, uncomfortable way. And for a while I thought, okay, you're going full survival horror. And then Leon shows up, and suddenly the game shifts gears completely. So the real question for me became, what is Resident Evil 9 actually trying to be? Because it feels like two very different experiences, and somehow that's the whole point. Alright, let's start with Grace. Grace sections are easily the most tense in the game. You do not feel powerful. Ammo is limited, healing is scarce, and most fights feel optional, or at least like something you'd rather avoid. And that tension works. Because instead of overwhelming you with enemies, the game overwhelms you with decisions. You're staring at an enemy thinking, is this guy worth 3 bullets? And 3 bullets might be half your inventory at that point. That kind of pressure creates real suspense. The sound design also helps a lot here. There were multiple times where I stopped moving just to listen. Sometimes nothing happened, but the possibility that something could happen was enough. That's good horror design. Now, I will say, some of these sections are slow. There's backtracking, there are quiet stretches. If you prefer constant forward momentum, it might feel like the game drags a little. But personally, I think that slowness is intentional. It forces you to sit in discomfort, and that's awesome. Then Leon enters, and everything changes. Combat ramps up, weapons feel heavier, encounters are bigger and louder, and honestly, it feels so good. The gunplay is tight, enemy reactions are so satisfying, you finally feel capable. And for a moment you think, okay, I got this, now I'm in control. But the more I played, the more I realized you're powerful, but you're not free. Combat arenas are clearly designed, enemy waves feel staged, the chaos feels cinematic, almost choreographed. You're not improvising as much as you think you are. You're operating inside a system that carefully manages your power. And that's interesting. Because even during the action-heavy parts, the game never lets you feel completely safe. So, does this split between Grace and Leon actually work? Yes, mostly yes. Grace creates tension through limitation. Leon creates tension through escalation. When you're Grace, you're stressed because you don't have enough. You don't have enough of anything. And when you're Leon, you're stressed because the game keeps raising the stakes. Stronger enemies, more pressure, less room for error. Different mechanics, same instability. You're either underpowered or temporarily overpowered, but never fully comfortable. And that's a good thing. That contrast keeps the experience dynamic. That said, it is not flawless. Some transitions feel abrupt. The middle stretch dips slightly in pacing, and a few of Leon's bigger encounters lean a little too hard into spectacle. Not bad, just slightly predictable. Now, let's talk pacing, because this is where things get slightly messy. The first half of the game is really strong. The transitions between Grace and Leon feel fresh, you're constantly adjusting your mindset, but the middle section, it drags a bit. There are a few objective loops that feel familiar, a couple of encounters feel slightly too scripted, not bad, just predictable as I already said. That said, the final act regains momentum. It tightens things up, and by the end, the tension ramps up in a way that feels earned. Level design overall is solid. It's really good. Safe rooms are placed smartly, shortcuts unlocked at satisfying times, but you're definitely being guided. This is not an open-ended Resident Evil. It's curated. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's obviously. The title Requiem implies mourning, and thematically, the game leans into that. There's this constant feeling that you're not preventing disaster, you're surviving aftermath. You can't fix everything, you can't save everyone, and you can't control every outcome. And I think that's where the dual character structure actually becomes meaningful. Grace shows you vulnerability, Leon shows you strength, but neither gives you certainty. And that lack of certainty might be the real theme, not horror, not action, instability. Now, I think Resident Evil 9 is great. It's not perfect, but it's damn good. Some of Leon's sequences lean a little too hard into spectacle. A few enemy waves feel designed more for cinematic impact than player expression, and in gray sections, the slow pacing might lose people. The illusion of control, which works thematically, sometimes feel like mechanical restriction. But I don't think the game is confused. I think it's intentional. The tension comes from never fully trusting your situation, and that's consistent across both playstyles. So, is Resident Evil 9 Requiem the scariest game in the series? No. Is it the most action-packed? Also no. But it might be one of the most thoughtful. It understands that horror isn't just about monsters, and action isn't just about firepower. It's about how stable you feel moment to moment. And in Resident Evil 9 Requiem, you never feel completely stable. Grace makes you feel fragile. Leon makes you feel temporarily powerful. But neither make you feel safe. And honestly, that balance is what makes this game interesting. Again, not perfect, but so interesting. And in a franchise that constantly reinvents itself, that's impressive.
I can't just leave her.